Welcome to Lesson 1, continued, of Order of Operations with Decimals. Here we will evaluate this expression in Example 1, containing decimals, without the use of technology. And we will begin that by writing down BEDMAS to help us remember the order in which the operations need to be performed. So here I'm going to start with my brackets. I need to add negative 5.5 and 5. And when we add a positive and a negative, we subtract. 5.5 take away 5, being sure to line up the decimals. Add decimal 0 to make sure everything's lined up. Subtracting, that gives us 0.5. Now we need to determine if that's a positive 0.5 or a negative 0.5. So look to see if you have more positives or negatives. I have 5.5 negatives and 5 positives. So since I have more negatives, that gives me 0.75 times 0.3 minus, and then negative 0.5 squared. Now, brackets are done. We'll move on to our exponents next. Here we need to square negative 0.5. I'm going to multiply 0.5 by itself. 5 times 5 is 25. Now I'm going to determine my decimal places. This number has 1 decimal place. This number has 1 decimal place. My answer is going to have 2. Starting at the right and counting over to the left, puts it right here, 0.25. And it is going to be positive since a negative squared, a negative times a negative, is a positive. So that gives us 0.75 times 0.3 minus 0.25. So I have 2 operations left now, multiplication and subtraction. According to our BEDMAS, we will do the multiplication step next, where we multiply 0.75 by 0.3. Now 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21, plus the 1 makes that 22. Adding up our decimal places, we have a total of 3. So that puts our decimal right here in the beginning. So we have 0.225. All right, so now we're just down to our last operation, which is subtraction. Whenever we subtract, we add the opposite. So I'm going to change this to 0.225 plus negative 0.25. Now when we add a positive and negative, we subtract. So I need to subtract 0.225 from 0.25. Fill this in with a 0 here. I can't do 0 take away 5, so I'm going to borrow, make that 10. 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 2 is 2. That'd be a 0. Line up the decimal. That'd be a 0. After we subtract, we determine the sign. I see that I do have more negatives than positives, so our final answer is negative 0.025. Now, looking at example 2, write down my BEDMAS first here. I see that I have 2 sets of brackets. So I'm going to work on each set at the same time here. So we'll start with our brackets. So let's look at the first set. I have 4.5 minus 6.6 divided by 2. Within that set of brackets, I have 2 operations. So I still need to follow my BEDMAS. And my BEDMAS tells me I need to do the division before the subtraction. So I need to divide 6.6 by 2. Let's quickly divide 2 into 6.6. that would be 3. 2 and a 6 is 3 again, making sure you place your decimal. So that gives us 4.5 take away 3.3 squared minus. I'm also going to work on that square set of brackets. I am adding two negatives. So we add the numbers and then just make your answer negative. 8 plus 4 is 12. Line up your decimal, and then that will give us 9. So we end up with negative 9.2 for the square set of brackets. Now I'm still working on my brackets here. I have a subtraction to do. Well, I'm going to change that to a addition by adding the opposite. So we subtract those two numbers there. 4.5 take away 3.3. That gives us 1.2. Now I notice that I do have more positives than negatives, so it is positive 1.2 here. So now we can move on to our exponents. I need to square 1.2. So I multiply that by itself. You can go ahead and do your multiplication, or I'm just going to ignore the decimals for a minute and think of this as 12 times 12. I know 12 times 12 is 144. So now let's place our decimal. The first number has 1 decimal place. The second number also has 1. So altogether, my answer should have 2 decimal places. So it becomes 1.44. So 1.44 take away, and then negative 9.2. So we have one operation left now, which is subtraction. Once again, I'm going to change that to adding the opposite. So here, we just need to add, since we're adding two positive, we just need to add them together, and our answer is going to be positive. And when I add them together, I need to be careful to line up the decimals. And fill that in with a 0 to make sure everything lines up, if you like. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. Place your decimal. And 9 and 1 is 10. So our final answer here is 10.64.